1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Many thanks to James Well. I'm Mike Allen, looking after the shop for Ian Collins and Chesney, who, as you know, are just having a well-deserved rest. Delighted to tell you that my first guest this evening is the numerologist, Daniel Strafford. Welcome, Dan.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Yes, I'm having a good day. I took myself out for a little Italian dinner tonight. It's very nice. All alone, you know.
Ooh.
I was playing footsie with the chair, but nothing happened.
Life's full of little disappointments, isn't it, Mike?
Now, you're happy to talk to people on the phone.
Yes.
And if I asked people to send me a text or an email with a question, if they include their date of birth, that would be okay too.
Yes, yes. We must have the date of birth.
That's what we need. Absolutely crucial.
Yes.
Okay. So the number to speak to Daniel is 08704 20 20 20, or you can text one question, one text, and don't forget the date of birth, 81089. 81089. Or you can email. It's sitting there. It's just got the dust cover on it. Take it off and let it have its head. Sure. The number? You'll know it's all the W's. talksport.net. Right. What an eventful day. It's all go, actually. Graham is very keen to have a chat with you, and he's on the line, so let's wheel him up. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Daniel's here.
Right.
Can you give us your date of birth?
Yeah, my date of birth is 2nd of the 4th, 1963.
Okay.
Right. Anything specific you wanted me to look at?
Just a general reading, please, Daniel.
Right.
Can I also tell you I've got two lucky numbers, 7 and 32.
7 and 32. Well, your life path number, in other words, the total addition of your date of birth comes, if it's reduced down, comes to 7. So that's right. That's why. So it's a base number for you, if you like. 32 is one of the luckier numbers anyway. That comes from the number 5, which is also related to the 7 indirectly. Well, actually, it's more directly it's more directly related to the 2, which is also your birthday. So these two lucky numbers that you've mentioned directly relate to your date of birth.
Right, that doesn't surprise me at all, but
no.
Yeah.
Now, where you are at the moment, life for you does have its disappointments, and it is slow. You do find you get a bit frustrated with things at times, don't you?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah.
It's never quite fast enough for you.
Depends. It's pretty fast sometimes, but
you get phases of it.
I get a bit phases. Phases of it comes and goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last year was certainly very restrictive for you, wasn't it? There was a lot of restrictions, especially prior to October.
Right.
Since October last year, it's picked up a bit, and you've had a lot of changes in the last few months, haven't you?
Well, yeah, it's been getting better. Yeah, it's been getting better the last 6 months.
Exactly. So you're getting to the place now where life is much easier than it's been for some years. In fact, I think that the one thing that has been something of a problem has been on the domestic front. But
right. What do you mean by that exactly? Can you be more specific?
To do with the home and the family and things like that.
Right. Come to think of it, there has been a few problems there recently.
And I would also think that there's some situations relating to the home scene that need to be sorted out.
Well, hopefully that problem's been resolved in the last couple of weeks, so...
well, that's good then. That's good.
Yeah.
It's onwards and upwards. It's onwards and upwards. As far as I'm concerned, I think there's some thoughts in your mind relating to the domestic scene. Are you thinking of moving home, or are you thinking of making some changes in the home, or doing some kind of...
Well, long term I'm thinking of moving, but to be honest, recently I've had some troublesome neighbours, but they've left, fortunately, so everything's okay again now, so...
Well, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on the home next year. So if you're thinking of making either changes in the home or doing decoration, next year's an ideal time for it.
Right. Would that be in the springtime, do you think?
Yeah, in the springtime would be great. And once we get past your birthday next year, you come into quite a nice... admittedly, there's still going to be some ups and downs, but it's very good on the family level next year. So there's pleasant experiences within the family that kind of situation is quite positive. So things are moving forward, and I certainly think that as I said, I think that the last few years have probably been a bit tough going for you, haven't they?
Well, yeah, they've been pretty tough, but reasonably tough. But I think things, like I said, things have got a lot better within the last
You've come out of that. So. You've come out of that phase, and you're coming into smoother waters. So I quite like that. I think that's quite positive. Always got to remember. I mean, you're a great person for trying to find a level with situations. I mean, if there's problems within the home or the domestic scene, you're always trying to be the peacemaker. That's something you're very good at. So I would keep on with that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm quite good at doing that.
Yeah, sorting out all the difficulties. You've got something of the peacemaker about you. So that's very good. So I mean, as I said, things have certainly improved, and more so recently. And I think that there's probably some pleasant experiences to come in the balance of this year. A lot of protection next year. Quite pleasant experiences in the family, especially after the birthday. So it's quite positive. It's quite positive.
Good. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the call.
You're welcome.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Well, that's all starting to sound very positive. Nice, bright future.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Right. Daniel Strafford's here. If you'd like to speak to him, there are 3 ways you can gain access. You can call him, which is the easiest perhaps, 0870 420 2020. 0870 420 2020. Or text him on 81089, or just send me an email. All the W's.talksport.net. Who should we speak to next? Lynn in Cardiff. Just a minute, Len, I'm just doing magic with my fingers on the screen. You know, you get these days, Dan, when everything around you is mesmerised by your brilliance.
You're frightening the machines again, Michael.
Yeah, I just wonder, what is the state of complete opposite? Len's in Cardiff. Hello, Len. You're on talkSPORT. Dan's here.
Before I speak to Dan, did you take a look at my website last night?
No, I didn't, actually. I know it's Len Cares. Leonard-cares.co.nr. That's right. I remember, yeah. I meant to ask you, is the NR, because I put it in as a caps, or is it just lowercase?
Just lowercase. I don't think it matters really, but I've always used lowercase.
Yeah, okay, right. I might go and do it in a minute. I might leave you in the gentle hands of Daniel Strafford.
You'll be very surprised when you see it.
Okay. I need your date of birth for Dan so that he can work some magic. So be brave. Tell me the truth.
The 29th of the 12th, 1933.
There we are.
Yes, well, interestingly enough, straight away I can say with your birthday, you're very much that of the teacher or the person that brings light to other, or tries to bring light to other people's lives. You're quite intuitive, actually, aren't you?
Yes, very much so.
Yes, I thought you were. I think also one of the interesting things is that you always appear to be very easygoing on the surface, and then when people plague you, eventually there's this explosion. But most of the time you're very easygoing, and everybody says, "Gosh, what's happened? I never knew it was like that." It's just a thought. It's just a thought, but it's there.
I tend not to explode. I try to maintain calm at all times.
Yes, but occasionally things do get a bit emotional for you.
Oh, well, it certainly is that, yes.
Yes. You're a very creative person, Len. Are you doing something where you're making use of your creativity or dealing with the public? If you're not, you should be.
Yeah, well, I've done so a lot in the past, and I refer to my website with Mike, and if he looks on there, you'll see just how creative I've been. Unfortunately, I'm disabled now, and I can't do it anymore.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
We were thinking, Len, that you'd actually run off a few nice fivers for us.
Fivers?
Nice fivers, you know, some really good forgers, you know. But
well, I wouldn't have stopped at fivers, surely.
You're thinking small again, Mike. You're thinking small again.
Yes, I thought we'd probably take something small who might slow our getaway. Anything bigger than 2 mailbags, you know, might be a little bit.
Oh, no, I'm not that creative, Mike.
You know, well, it's the last time I met somebody, this is absolutely true, who got arrested for dealing with forged currency. Every note had the same number.
Good Lord.
Now, that's creative, isn't it?
It is crazy.
It's just gardening on the ceiling. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
Right. you found things slightly restrictive in the last, well, certainly since April up until now. It's still a bit heavy going around you, Len, but once we get to around about the 5th of October, it's going to lighten a bit.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because you've got something around you that seems to have cropped up again.
Yes, that's true.
It is not as bad as it looks, and it's a situation that you can work your way through. Look at it, try and remove the emotion from the situation, Len. Try and look at it as a practical problem that's there to be overcome, because believe me, that is all it is. If you can take the emotion out of the situation and just look at it as something practical that you work your way through, you'll find that by the time we get to, well, sometime between the 5th and the 10th of October, it'll be gone, and you'll be onwards and upwards, and you're coming into a much freer phase. So I think certainly from the middle of October onwards, life will begin to look just that fraction better, and the more time that goes by, the better it's going to be.
Oh,
and come
fantastic.
the spring of next year, any residual restrictions that you've had will be passing away. So you're going in the right direction. It's going to get better.
Oh, there is an area that could apply to, and that's positive and wonderful news.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, you've had these restrictions, especially since April, maybe even before, but specifically since April, and it's been a heavy time. But you are right at the end, and admittedly, I accept the fact that there's the possibility that something's come back again and you thought, oh no, I thought I'd sorted out and I haven't, or otherwise it's come back in a different way. You can, as I said, the important thing is to look at it as a problem to be solved rather than as something to get upset and emotional about. You can work your way through this and come, as I said, by the end of the month or early next month, it's onwards and upwards.
Good enough. Thanks very much, Len. Dan, we're going to pause for just a minute. If you'd like to be in touch with Dan after we've heard some refreshing commercials, I'll give you a phone number to use. Not now, but tomorrow during the office hour period. OK? Marvellous. I'm Mike Allen. Daniel Strapper's our numerologist tonight, and in just a moment we'll be having a word, strict, actually, with Lynn, who's in Skelmersdale. That sounds nice. Not that woman, is it? From the tourist board. Not her again.
Oi, van drivers, was your last van insurance quote a bit of a minger? For a better looking quote, go to budgetvaninsurance.com. Budget Van Insurance. It's a van man thing.
The radio station for men who know how to treat a lady.
I always do this show in T-shirt and underpants.
Oh, very clever.
talkSPORT.
Made you think, didn't it, when you heard that? T-shirt and underpants. I think it's a bit overdressed, but you can't have it all, can you? Daniel Strapper's with us. What a great numerologist he is. So many people want to speak to him, but, you know, we're not going to be able to get through all of them tonight. We'll be able to shake a stick at as many as we can. If you would like to have a chat to Dan and see if he can look after you on a private basis, here's the number to use. 077 961 41451. I'll say that again. 077 961 41451. Did I get that right, Dan?
I think it sounds about right to me.
It sounds
it's a
close,
number. It's another number.
It is, isn't it? The numerologist not remembering his phone number. That can't possibly happen. I must tell you.
Don't put your mortgage on it, Mike.
No. I had a very interesting interview earlier on, so I'm not going to play this interview till later tonight, but an interview with Irene Thompson, and she's written a book called It's a Miracle, and I tell you it was interesting. I thought, wouldn't it be nice for her to read out one of the stories that she's compiled, and we both arrived at the same conclusion.
Uh-huh.
And then she read out the final bit, and a little lump in the eye. So we're going to be hearing a bit of that after you leave us tonight. I just thought I'd mention that because now you know what you've got to be missing.
Oh, absolutely.
Lynn's called us from Skelmersdale. Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello to you both.
Thank you.
I didn't think I'd get on tonight, but I'm glad I have.
Now tell me the date of birth, Lynn, and you must.
14250.
14250.
St. Valentine's Day.
Yes.
That makes you a tiger, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not going to say anything, Dan. Make a nice change, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably better, Mike. We don't want to all end up in trouble, do we? Now, Lynn, you've had quite a lot of interesting times in your life.
Oh, yes.
It's not been boring.
No, never.
And there's always been, well, I said there's always been, there's often been the odd bit of adventure, as and when you required it.
Oh, yes.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting. Very, very. You're not somebody ever suited to the 9 to 5 sort of existence. It is absolute disaster for you.
It is, yes, you're right.
You need to have freedom to move around in, to not be tied down in the normal sense. It doesn't suit you at all.
No, you're quite right.
No, definitely not. You've got big ideas and big plans, and in actual fact, you're probably quite spiritually orientated. Are you intuitive? You are intuitive, aren't you?
Yes.
Admit it.
I am.
I'm going to be positive about it, and you can admit it, so that's good. This year has been very much, to date, has been very much a year to do with the family and the domestic scene.
Well...
and things to do with the home.
The domestic scene is nothing, really.
Well, there's been thoughts on the domestic scene, shall we say, relating to that, and also to relationships and friendships and things like that.
Yes, definitely relationships and friendships.
Yes. So in that sense, it's been, it has been, shall we say, eventful?
Very.
Yes.
If only you knew.
I'm sorry?
I said, if only you knew.
Well, the numbers are telling me enough. Now, where it is at the moment, I mean, what the numbers are telling me at this stage is that things, that the situations relating to the subject that we've just been talking about are coming to a head. So, problems can be sorted out, and if they're not sorted out, it's time to move on, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense?
I do.
Yeah. So, it's like, it's a time of decision. I mean, the last couple of months really have been a time of decision for you, or decision making.
Yes.
And it's really up to you as to how you deal with this situation. But I would say to you, as long as you're acting positively and you look to what is going to be in your best long-term interest, then push matters on. Have you done something? Have you done some decorating in the home this year?
No, not this year.
Have you thought about it?
No.
Or have you bought new things for the home?
A few.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's any domestic appliances that need replacing, now is the time to do it.
Right.
Especially between now and the end of the year. Because if you don't do it, if you know that it should really be replaced, and you don't do it now, it's going to break down next year, and it's going to be a mess. And we don't need messes. I mean, because aggravation always comes at the wrong time.
Yes.
Doesn't it? So, as I said, if there's something on that level that needs to be sorted out, now is the time to do it. It's, in terms of the family as a whole, there's some pleasant experiences around you. I think there's no reason why there shouldn't be. You might even get some have you had some interesting news about the family in the last couple of months? Like, for example, somebody getting engaged or something like that?
No.
Well, I suppose that possibility is around. That possibility is around. And there's certainly some emphasis of pleasant experiences as far as the family situation is concerned between now and the end of the year. Next year is a time when you need to rest a bit more, but it's a great time for travel, and you are a traveller.
Oh, definitely.
Yes. So if there is some place that you've always dreamed of going, but always thought you couldn't do it for one reason or other, next year is the time. Hang on to that dream and go for it, because especially if it's somewhere near water or high on a mountain, something like that, it is going to be a wonderful experience for you.
Lynn, thank you so much. Daniel Strappers here. You're listening to talkSPORT on 1053, 1089 AM. To speak to Dan, you can call on 08704 20 20 20, or you can text 81089, or email all the w's.talksport.net. And do bear in mind, Dan needs your date of birth to do anything, okay? I don't know if that's also true, Dan, when you come around and do a bit of paper hanging, but... Well, now,
I wouldn't go to do the paper hanging unless I knew the date of birth, because it might not be the right time to do the paper hanging, Mike.
There you are, you see, the insightful remark. I'm going to remind folks of your office number in a few minutes, but I don't want to confuse it with the other one.
No.
Now... Intuitively, where would you like to be? Would you like to be in on the M11 talking to Richard?
Why not?
Okay. Hello, Richard.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hiya, Dan's here. What's your date of birth, Richard?
Right, it's 2nd of the 5th, 1971.
1971?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes, right. Now, you've had another person who's had a lot of family situations and responsibilities on your shoulders this year.
Yes.
And does it seem very heavy at the moment?
Yeah.
Another one of my understatements, I think.
Well, you could say that. I just had a major argument with my mother.
Oh.
And she certainly knows what hard work is, let's put it that way.
Yes. In terms of where you are at the moment, I mean, this is a time where there's a lot of emphasis on the family situation. Again, if you want to make any changes in the home, like decoration or even moving home, this is a good time to do it, providing that you do it quickly, because the time span for this, if it's not been done already, is the 31st of December. So if there's anything to do with improving the home in any way, making it more comfortable, you've got between now and the end of the year. A lot of emphasis on your finances, I notice, in the last few months.
Yes. Yeah.
But you've been protected.
Right.
So that's helped. But in the first few months of next year, you've got to budget rather carefully, because money is not going to flow quite so easily next year.
Right, okay.
So you need to think about that. And also, there's around you, there are, I think there's some problems relating to your work. Now, I'm not saying you have a problem with the work. It's something, either the people that you work for or you work with, there's a problem around there somewhere, and this may well affect you in some way next year.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Would that be in connection with wages as well, or is it money
could
and
be.
employment?
It could be, yes.
Right, okay.
It could be. So, I mean, in terms of next year, it's very, very important that you budget carefully, because at the moment it's all right, you're protected, but it's not exactly, it's not as if it's free flowing, is it?
No, it's not. No.
And the responsibilities around you at the moment are quite heavy. So try and be careful about your budgeting next year, otherwise it could put you in an awkward situation. The other thing I would say about next year is it's quite an interesting time, and you'll meet some very interesting or unusual people next year. This will be something that will open your mind up to something else. If you are thinking that maybe you want to make some kind of major change in your life, in some way, somebody that you meet next year is going to be the trigger for that. So if you're dissatisfied in some ways with how your life is, and you want to live somewhere else, or you want to do something else entirely, some opportunity relating to that will be open to you next year, or you'll hear about it next year, or you'll come into contact with it next year. It won't happen immediately, but next year is important for triggering the thought, if you see what I mean.
Thanks, Richard. Daniel Strapper's with us. If you'd like to be in touch with Daniel, because you can't get through to speak to him at the moment, his office number is 077 961 41451. 077 961 41451. I'm Mike Allen. This is talkSPORT.
Everyone seems to believe that all us men are about is sport and beer. It's so unfair. It's not Chris from Wolverhampton's fault that the only place he can find showing the match is the pub. And then on his walk home from the local, he calls into his other local, Spa, for great deals like Budweiser 330ml, 8 bottles for £6. After all, he's got the highlights to watch when he gets home. And with great real deals from Spa, you can enjoy them with a beer and maybe a pizza, or a curry, or a Chinese. Spa, there for you. At participating stores only. Offer excludes Northern Ireland.
DVD rental by post from talkSPORT from just $9.99 a month. Click talksport.net now and sign up for 6 rentals absolutely free. It's in the can.
Wow.
On 1089 and 1053 AM and DAB digital radio. talkSPORT.
It's 1:33. How could that possibly be? Dan, I've got a clutch. Well, a clutch. I'm underselling it here. I've got a bunch of people who've got a quick question. So, Anne said, is there just something you can tell me that might be a bit encouraging? The 9th of the 8th, 1951.
9th of the 8th, 1951. Yes, Anne. Well, Anne, I think that the first thing I want to say to you is that this year has been rather heavy going for you. You felt alone with things. Everything seems to be empty, so to speak. But the important thing, Anne, is not to worry. It is just a phase. You're meant to be taking things easy. If you're feeling tired and run down, you will be this month anyway, even if you haven't before. Just take it easy. This is a time for resting and for thinking about what's happened. This is not a time for action. Wait until we get to 5th of February next year, and then it'll be onwards and upwards, and financially things will improve. At the moment, though, you need to rest and let things flow by. It's no good worrying about it because you can't alter it. It's set at the moment. Look to next year, Anne. It'll be onwards and upwards.
Good luck, Anne. I'm not going to read you this mail, Dan, because people might think there's some sort of dodgy thing going on. But this straight question from Steve, he said, this is my date of birth, 30th of the 1st, 1974. And things have been a bit rough. Lumpy, I think, would be a good way of putting it.
Yes, well, they've been emotional for him, that's for sure. Let's see what else we've got here in the background. Very up and down, very up and down. But Steve is quite a creative person, and he should be using his creativity. But maybe life doesn't always present him with the opportunity. However, this is something that is going to change, isn't it? Let's see, where we are, 6. This is interesting, this is interesting. Do we like this? We do, yes. It is going to change, Steve. It is going to get better, but it has been a heavy-going time. There's been a lot of restrictions. Last year was tough going. There must have been some financial upsets last year, maybe over property. But I think what you've got to do, Steve, is you've got to look forward. You've got to see, you've got to look at the situation that you're in. You've got to go through this. This is a time, I mean, in terms of what's coming up next year, it's a time for working your way through things. Deal with all these situations that you've got, or all this situation that you've got, on a methodical, down-to-earth basis. Next year is a year to set a budget and stick to it no matter what happens. If you set a budget for next year, Steve, you stick to it. Come the 5th of October next year, the pressure will begin to ease, and you'll be out of all these difficulties that you've had, and you'll be moving forward. You've got to keep your head down for the time being and stick to the budget. But you'll get there, Steve. In the end, it will be onwards and upwards, and you'll be able to move forward with much more freedom. The freedom is there. It's just a little way off.
You're listening to TalkSPORT. I'm Mike Allen. Daniel Strafford, the numerologist, is with us. If you want to speak to him, it's 08704 20 20 20. Pauline will let you have no rest, Anne. Pauline's in Sutton.
I know, I only spoke to you yesterday.
Yes, it's funny you should say that. Don't think it wasn't taken notice of.
Oh, well, you're very popular, you know, and you too don't half make me laugh. You should be in a comedy duo.
We are. It's called TalkSPORT.
And we're part of the act, I think.
Oh, yes, we are. The only difference is, of course, that we're the only people that go into makeup who work on radio.
All right. Oh, well, we can see through that if we're psychic.
Now, Pauline...
You used to make me laugh years ago. My birthday's 17/10/41.
17/10/41?
41, yeah.
Right, okay.
But, yeah, I look like a chic 30-year-old. That's like one as well.
Yes. This year, there's been a lot of emphasis on finances for you.
Yeah.
And is there some money due to you? Because if so, it's coming. You're very near it. If you haven't heard about it already.
Well, I haven't heard about it, but I'm hoping.
Yes, and I think you could well hear about it this month.
Yes.
It's imminent. Because I mean, you're in a time when this is a time when there's financial rewards, and it looks to me in this situation that there's some emphasis of money around you anyway. So what we're talking about here, yes, you should be hearing about. I'm surprised you haven't heard, but then we're only the 14th now. It could still come. It could still come. There's plenty of time. So that's a positive. I like that. I like that.
I'd like to know if I'd find success as a writer, because I'm actually...
Well, you've been working on that, but if you don't hear something about it this month, I assume then you've got something out there.
Well, it's almost finished, ready for going to various agents.
Right. Well, I would get it out before the end of this month.
Yes?
Whatever happens, yes.